Hi, this is Susan Pujols with Homestead Real Estate.
And this is Jerry Pujols with Homestead Real Estate here on a beautiful Friday, just ready to talk real estate with any of you. And today's topic is going to be buyers and how should buyers handle the process of looking at inventory in today's real estate climate, or for that matter, in any real estate climate. So we want to talk to you a little bit about Zillow. A lot of us use Zillow. It's an amazing resource. I think it's the best platform out there to stay up to date on what's on the market, when prices are changing, when things have gone into escrow, or any of the statuses have changed on any piece of property out there in today's market. But Zillow also gives you, the consumer, the ability to set appointments. So you can go into a button that says "See this home." I think that's what it says. Does it say "See this home," Idisham? Or it says something like that, or "Schedule me a tour," or something along those lines, right? I'm never on that side of the fence. That's for the consumer, but we do get the calls because we are actually, as of today, we are one of the very few, if not the only, Zillow Flex partner in the entire Napa Valley. So we get a lot of the phone calls, and we have a department specifically set up just to handle the volume of Zillow phone calls for buyers that want to see property. But there are times that we send somebody out there to meet you, the buyer, out at that property, and we find at times that that buyer has already started working with another agent or has a relationship with another agent. And we always think that it's best for you, the consumer, to have a relationship with your realtor, and your realtor should be aware or be made aware every time you want to see a home. Now, I know that people have heard things from their agent like, just go see the house and then let me know when you find something you like. We don't appreciate that as a practice because, as Susan always says, the agent should be there with the buyer when they're looking at a home because the agent can point out things that the buyer might miss. Remember, a high producing agent sells anywhere between 50 and 100 homes a year. The average agent sells 2 to 3 homes a year. So you also want to work with somebody that does a reasonable amount of business every year because that usually means that they're in tune to the nuances of what may be going on with a particular piece of property, and not to mention leveraging that agent's ability to leverage relationships with other agents within the community that will ultimately help you, the consumer, in getting what you want. Go ahead, help me out because this is a pretty,
It's pretty broad
yes.
area to talk about. I think a lot of times too, there are a lot of agents out there that are just part-time agents. And again, I think to really know this business and really be able to dig deep, you really need to be a full-time agent. And I think it's super important that you're working with a full-time agent that knows what you're looking for and also is a local area expert. Like for me, and I think for most of the people on our team, we really focus on our area. We don't try to focus on selling property in Concord or Walnut Creek because we're not the area expert. We focus here in Napa Valley. We have some agents that really focus heavily in Solano or Sacramento or Sonoma. But for the most part, I think it's really important for an agent to really stay in their lane and really be the area expert. That's really what's really going to help a buyer, I think.
I think that's amazing advice. Going back to Zillow, so when people set up, when you go to Zillow and say schedule a tour, when you're saying schedule a tour, Zillow notifies either us or other agents that may be in the Zillow network, and you will have somebody show up who you've never met before on that property, on the specific property. Please know that those agents do not work for Zillow. They're not paid to go meet you. That agent's job is to qualify you and see if it's a fit that you and that agent work together. So that agent's motivation is strictly to hopefully earn your business and earn your trust. If you already have a relationship that you appreciate with the agent that you are currently working with, if you are working with somebody, then I would recommend, highly recommend, that you just call your agent.
Yeah.
If you're met with, I don't have time, or I don't have somebody to go show you this property at this time, then that's a little bit of a red flag, not plague, but it's a little bit of a red flag because your agent should have a backup agent within their team, somebody that can go open up a door for you at a moment's notice. Your agent should have the availability and the team in place to cover a showing anytime you want to go out and see a property 7 days a week. Because when a buyer is in buy mode, meaning looking for opportunity, buyers usually don't wait and don't like to be held waiting because that's not called customer service. Customer service is you want to go see a house, your agent should be able to make that happen for you, or at least come to terms with you and get you into that property within a reasonable period of time, because you as a buyer don't want to miss out on opportunity because your agent says they're busy or they just can't, or they don't have coverage. So consider who you work with, and who you work with should be able to support your schedule, more importantly, because you, if you're qualified to buy a home, it's probably because you have a job. And if you have a job, it's because you're working within a certain period of hours a day. And those are usually not the hours you're able to go out and see property. So agents have to make themselves available and flexible during the time buyers can actually go out and see property.
Whether it's the evenings or the weekends, and that's part of being a real estate agent, is being available for the buyers or the multitude of buyers, or having the team of people that if you physically, meaning the agent like myself or Jerry, couldn't go out and show the property, that you have a team of people that can go out and show the property, that are well qualified, that understand the market. Because anybody that works on our team, they're full-time agents. There's no part-time agents, because this business really is a full-time job, and things change so much that you physically have to be in this business all the time.
Another thing that I wanted to highlight was also, as a consumer, you should understand the difference between a real estate agent and a realtor. So those are two significant differences, because you don't have to be a realtor to be a real estate agent. So you can literally, with very little effort, just get your license and be a real estate agent that is not held to a high standard and a specific code of ethics. To become a realtor, you are held to a very high standard and a specific code of ethics that do nothing but benefit the consumer. So beware that when you're working with somebody, they are a realtor with a little R right next to it, registered trademark, and that they are actually working on that specific code of ethics that's there in place to protect the consumer.
Yeah.
I think that's also really important.
Very important. Yeah.
There are some people out there that are disguised as realtors, but they're really only real estate agents. Also consider that the person that you work with works closely with their broker, and that somebody like myself is on the team who's a broker overseeing the activity of these agents, because there's something to be said for experience, and somebody that's being managed and met with experience is going to do nothing but protect you and your interest in purchasing property.
Okay.
Anything else that we left out when it comes to getting out there, having fun, looking at houses?
I think it's important too that, there are some buyers that, they might be okay just showing up to an open house. I think if at all possible, I think it's really important for the agent to be out there with their buyers looking at property, because I think we have the trained eye. That's why they've hired us to go and look at property with them, because we do have the experience that we might see a lot of things that maybe they don't see regarding the house. And I think it's really important to accompany the buyer. I try to do that always. Does it happen? Sometimes, but I really try to be there for our buyers. I think it's really important.
One thing that we always try to do our very best to educate our clients is let them know that when you walk into an open house, hand out our business card, or let the agent at that property know that you're working with us. You'll see how fast that agent leaves you alone, and you can have the peace of mind and space to walk through a home that's open when that agent knows that you're already working with a professional. And usually when, our clients tell the agents on the other side that they're working with us, they know to leave you alone because they know that we list a lot of properties, and at some point they're going to want to work with us, and they're going to want to make sure that we give them the same courtesy as to not try to stress their clients into end up working with us, which is not what we're about.
Yeah.
We really try to adhere to the boundaries and try to just honor everybody and try to do the best job we can to make sure that everybody gets the information that is necessary. So as a consumer, you can make the very best decision to decide whether this is the right home for you or not. So it's not about pressure selling. It's literally about educating everybody and trying to be fair. So when it all comes around, people are fair to us and treat our clients with respect as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What else on the buyer side? I feel we can squeeze this orange a little harder. What do you think?
Well, I think if at all possible, it's important to look at reports and disclosures. And a lot of times all those reports and disclosures are already online. So what I like to do is I like to look at the reports and disclosures prior to going to the property. And again, you don't have to do a deep dive, but just sort of an overview so that way you're educated when you go out there, because buyers out there right now, they know more about property than ever because of Zillow. They're getting the information real time. So I think as an agent, it's really important to be educated and really know the properties that you're showing, not just the square footage and how many bedrooms and bathrooms, but a lot more about the property.
So let's come up with maybe 3 or 4 things that a buyer should know every time they walk into a home. What are 3 or 4 things that a buyer should know right away? One of them being, I give you that one. One of them being, are there any reports on this property that I can take a look at? So I think that question, if you're somewhat interested in the property, I think that should be one of the 3 or 4 questions. Are there any reports on this? But what are other questions that should be asked about a property that somebody might be a little interested in?
Yeah, I always, when I set up an appointment, I always ask the agent, are there any offers already on the property? Because I feel that you're wasting your client's time if you don't know that information. Because a lot of times they might say, yes, there's 2 offers on the property and we already have a counter out and we're expecting it back shortly, and say you can't show the property till tomorrow. It's a waste of your client's time.
So you're talking to agents right now? Are you?
Oh, no.
Are you doing this podcast for agents or for the consumer?
No. But for the consumer, I don't want the buyer.
No, I'm just messing with
to
you.
be wasting their time.
You don't want the buyer. Yeah, and
or there's already an offer that's
we've done a lot of these classes for agents, and we try to educate agents too, and our agents that work at our company know that. They know that if you're going to show a property, so if you hire any one of us or agents from Homestead, they know right up front that first thing we do when we're representing you is we make sure we ask, are there any offers on that listing? And how many are there? And are there any counters, or what stages are you? Because we don't want to waste the client's time or get anybody's hopes up if that's the situation. However, one thing that I know about you is you're not afraid to get into the fray. So if there are multiple offers and they're even at a stage where one of them has a counter offer, I've seen you get in there, and based on the relationship that you have with that particular listing agent, I've seen you win. And win,
Absolutely.
I don't mean for you, I mean win for your client.
Right.
So I totally agree with you.
Right.
Yeah. Knowing that, but there are agents out there that will take buyers through a property without asking that question. They literally will go through the process of writing an offer and putting their buyer's emotions on the table
and submitting the offer
submit the offer
without even calling the agent. We see that a lot.
And to only be met with, we just got into contract. So you spend an hour or 2 hours of your client's time, more importantly, their emotional energy that they spend thinking that they have a chance at getting that house. Mm-hmm. And while they were sleeping, a contract was being ratified and they never stood a chance. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
So that But that is, let's call that a rookie move. That's an agent who would either be part-time or has not a lot of experience,
Yes.
doesn't understand the process, might be afraid to speak to other agents. A lot of people get into our business as a side hustle or a side gig or part-time as a way to make a little extra cash. One thing that I'll tell you about this business that I've been in for 25 years, it's not a side hustle.
No.
It's something that you're either all in or all out if you
Correct.
want to do an amazing job for your client.
Yep.
You have to get to know this industry. You have to know the nuances. Working with a part-time agent, even if that agent is rebating you a part of their commission, those should be mega red flags, because the only one that's going to be affected is you. You might think that you're saving, or you might think you're getting something back. The lack of experience will always cost the consumer more.
Yeah, for sure. And anyway, so what are the three
Did
things?
I bore you with that?
No. I just wanted to get back
thank
to the
you.
three.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, so
what are a few others?
So the other question that I know you would say is, and now the consumer really gets to see that. In the old days you didn't, but now knowing the days on the market, I think is critical. I mean, knowing how many days a property's been on the market. If you have something just came out on the market, you're at the first open house, there's a way to approach that. If the property has been on the market 90 days and has had 2 price reductions, there's a series of questions that your agent should be asking the listing agent to kind of get information, so that agent can make the very best decision as to how to coach you in writing the best offer, to hopefully getting that price reduced enough to get you a reasonably good price on this particular property that's been sitting on the market because it's obviously overpriced. I'm here to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, is that if a property sits on the market for more than 21 to 30 days, there's most of the time usually one thing wrong with the property, and that is the price.
Yeah.
You know,
more than likely.
More than likely. I mean, there could be other variables.
Sure.
There could be there's tenants in the property. It's hard to show the property. There could be other things, but usually we say that even the ugly houses sell at the right price. So it just depends on what a buyer, and houses always sell for what a buyer is willing to pay, or what buyers out on the market perceive the value to be. It's not necessarily dictated by an appraiser. Appraisers are very rational, engineer-minded individuals who we need in this industry, and the banks need them more than anybody to make sure that they're lending out on something that has the value of the amount of money that they're lending out. But if the consumer doesn't pay it, it doesn't even matter what an appraiser said, because it needs to be met by what a buyer's willing to pay.
Right. Yeah.
So that I leave. So we got 2. You're keeping track.
Yeah. So give us one more.
So we're thinking of price as a given. You want to know the price when you walk into a property. Knowing if it's got inspections, it's a great question to ask. How many days has this been on the market? I think another one is getting your agent to ask why they're selling. I think to know when someone is selling could be a crucial bit of insight that will help you determine how to approach and how to leverage and generate the very best offer to get you the very best deal on that property.
Right.
So,
and there's a level of sensitivity too, because a lot of times maybe the sellers are out of town too, and so you have to give that time.
Get my girl some water.
There's water right there. Very dry, very dry.
Don't let your agent joke.
Maybe we can cut this part out.
We're going to try to cut this part out. But if it doesn't get cut out, here you have us in our most natural state.
Right.
So those are what are we up to? 4. So the price, inspections, why is a seller selling, days on the market. That's 4. Let's try to squeeze a 5th one. What would be a 5th thing? 5 things to know.
Maybe what you might not know about the property.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when I'm getting information, I do ask that question. What are some things about the property that we might not know to the other agent? Because there's only so much information that you can put on there, as far as like disclosures, reports, language, all of that. Maybe there might be a few other things that you might not know about the property that could be pertinent in you writing the offer.
I like that. I think also there is, you and I have done this. You and I have done this before when we're looking at a piece of property. We actually drive around that neighborhood during the weekend. What does the neighborhood look like during the weekend when people are home from work? You know, how
Mm-hmm.
many cars park in that neighborhood when people are
Mm-hmm.
home from work? Sometimes neighborhoods just look so nice and quiet and perfectly set when you go during business hours. But all of a sudden you come out during the weekend and there might be a fraternity house or there might be something
Who
interesting
knows, right?
right there. So
Yeah.
it's good to come around the weekends and just do your due
Yeah.
diligence on properties. I have even gone as far as to tell a buyer, knock on your neighbor's doors and just say, hey, I'm thinking of buying this house. I
Right.
just want to ask you about the neighborhood.
What's the neighborhood like?
And
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything
I don't
wrong
think
with
there's
doing that.
anything wrong with that.
Yeah, yeah. And
No.
we've done that in neighborhoods that we bought before we bought this particular property that
Right.
we're sitting at. We met the neighbors, and it was one of the reasons we fell in love with this neighborhood
Yeah.
because we fell in love with the neighbors right
Right.
away. We knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
We really knew.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we squeezed out 5 or 6. I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's quite a few.
All right.
Yeah. Is that a wrap?
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Did you survive that choking
I
attack?
did.